Hey, by any chance, do any of you all remember that mystery illness from China that everyone was talking about a long, long time ago? Like about a week ago? Whatever happened to that? It's crazy. It's like this story was all over the place for like 5 or 6 days. And then suddenly, you hear nothing else about it at all. I mean, we had senators calling for travel bans, trying to shut down travel between America and China over this illness, but with a snap of a finger, it all just goes away. It all just disappears as if none of it was ever happening. Now, I know there are a couple of experts out there that are now claiming that this mystery illness is a new strain or a new strain of the beer bug. How true is that? Who knows? What I do know is that it seemed as if they were taking this very seriously, and then out of nowhere, it's like the news story got yanked from the headlines. Now, if you know how the media operates, you should know that the media operates in multiple ways. Often, more often than not, when the media covers a story, it's because they want it to blow up. They want to get as many eyes on these stories as possible. They sometimes make a mountain out of a molehill. We know that the media is good for that. Some of us YouTubers may do it sometimes as well. But also, a lot of this secretive stuff, a lot of this top secret information, a lot of this stuff that's on the down low and on the hush hush in our society, they report about it on the news. They just don't talk about it much. You see, a lot of the stuff that we think is so secretive that the mainstream media would never talk about, they talk about it. But they only talk about it for a few seconds. Maybe they'll run a headline at the bottom of their newscast with the information, but they put the information out there. They put the information out there. They may not fight to make sure that the information goes viral and spreads far and wide, but often the media, they like to put these tidbits of information out there. So when ish hits the fan and you look back on how did this happen? How did this happen without anyone knowing? They could bring up receipts like, hey, we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it for 30 seconds at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, but we talked about it. Sure, we talked about everything else every day, 24/7, but we did talk about this for 30 seconds that one time, okay, a few months ago. That's how the mainstream media operates. A lot of these news stories that you think the news will never touch, they touch it. You just don't know they touch it because they don't want to make a big deal of it. They don't want the information getting out there. Now, I told you from day one, the media's response to this mystery illness was very weird. It seemed as if they were trying to hype people up about it while downplaying the illness at the same time, which is odd. Usually, you don't see them try to have their cake and eat it too. But it's like they tried to play both sides of the fence. And, I thought that was weird at the time, but now I think it's even weirder considering that this news story kind of just fell off the abyss. Now, why is that? Was this their latest attempt at trying to scare us and it didn't work? Or did they put little morsels of this information out there, hoping that no one would pick up on it, but we did? You see, as someone who paid very close attention to the beer bug in the early days, this same type of thing happened. You start hearing rumblings of this mystery illness overseas. Then you start seeing other countries report on it. And then it gets downplayed. People pretend like it's no big deal. You don't hear anything about it. And then a couple of months later, couple of weeks later, next thing you know, It's the number one news story in the world, and the world is shutting down. You see, sometimes I wonder if the news puts information out there just to see how alert we are. Because, this beer bug and the lockdowns, it woke a lot of people up. Now people are paying attention more than ever, and now people become alarmed when they see certain news stories. So, news stories that the news used to be able to pass off on us and no one cares about, everyone goes about their daily lives and the mainstream media helps cover it up. They can't necessarily do that now, at least when it comes to these mystery illnesses, because we're watching. And luckily, myself and others, we blew that news story up. Oh, a mystery illness floating in China, you're trying to downplay it? It looks like the same nonsense y'all pulled a few years ago. I'll be damned if I let this slide by without alerting people. So I think there's a possibility that they wanted to run this news out there. They wanted to go ahead and have it on record that they were reporting about this mystery illness. But at the same time, I don't think they wanted this news story to blow up in the way that it did so quickly. Because if you look at the timetable, it's still a little too early for them to really roll out what they want to roll out when it comes to these illnesses. Okay? They're not worried about shutting the world down right now. No, they want to shut the world down closer to next November. So I'm wondering if there's a possibility that the mainstream media and the powers that be didn't think that we would take this news story, run with it, blow it up, make sure that everyone knows about it so everyone is alarmed, everyone's alert to what's going on. You see, with the beer bug, it's like they slipped one over on us. No one really saw that coming. Even me, someone who was watching the situation play out since the early days in China, I could have never imagined how far they took the situation. Well, actually, let me run that back. We were warned for years that something like this would happen, but nothing really prepares you for when it happens, right? Whereas now, it's like everyone's ready. Not everyone, but people like us, we're ready. We're watching. We're listening. We're waiting for them to try something like this again. And in many ways, I feel like the people got ahead of this news story. Because before the news even really reached America, we're already making videos about what's going on in China. Before the mainstream media could get a hold of the story and craft their own narratives and do what they want with the story, we were already talking about it and reporting on it. And I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about others as well. And the powers that be, they view that as dangerous because they want control of the narrative. So if you have this mystery illness spreading and the mainstream media is not in control of the narrative, therefore they can't weaponize this illness in the way that they want to. So it's kind of like it backfired on them. I fully do believe that they are trying. It may not be this illness. It may be the next one. It may be the next one. I do fully believe that they're going to try to do what they did again. I think that's become evidently clear. That's why every 2 to 3 weeks, every couple of months, there's this new disease, this new illness that they're talking about. They're waiting. They're buying their time. They're watching how the public responds. They're ready for the day that we let our guard down. They're ready for the day that you forget about what you went through a few years ago. Because then, and only then, will they strike again. So sometimes I feel like when they put news, oh, this swine flu is spreading, this is spreading, that's spreading. I kind of feel as if they're putting out feelers. Are people going to panic about this? How are people going to respond to this? How will people feel about this? Now, of course, it scared some people. They got their mask back on. Some of these grocery stores and the various, shopping malls and places like that around America are bringing back social distancing and stuff like that. But for the most part, people are looking at this like, F you. F you if you think that we're going to fall for this again. So I do feel as if they're putting feelers out there to see how aware people are, to see if people are paying attention, to see how people respond to things. And the response to this mystery illness from China obviously was not the response that they wanted. Because if they got the response that they wanted, we would still be hearing about it. They would be talking about it day in and day out. The fact that it disappeared from the news cycle is interesting to me. But I don't know if it's something we should worry about or if this is a victory that we should celebrate. On one hand, I'm glad that the world didn't fall into another panic. Good. But on the other hand, it's like, so what do y'all have up y'all's sleeve? What are y'all planning next? Are you going to downplay this, allow this thing to spread, and then hit us with something in mid-January and act as if this is a big deal? Anything is still possible. There are several possibilities that are still on the table right now. But I just wanted to make this quick video to show you all how not only how the mainstream media operates, but how these things go. It all depends on if you take it serious. How seriously do you take it? Because obviously they're not taking these illnesses that seriously. And the fact that they're not taking it that seriously, or at least it looks like they're not, it's a total contradiction to everything that we went through a few years ago. I mean, really ask yourself, how can they pretend that this illness is nothing to worry about, but a few years ago, if you weren't even sick, you weren't even showing symptoms, but you just so happened to maybe test positive for something, they would act like you're a grandma killer, you're a bad person, how dare you go in public, how dare you do anything? We must shut down the entire world. This illness is so deadly, it's so serious. Meanwhile, we have basically the same illness spreading right now, the same kind of symptoms, this time affecting kids, unlike the last one, and they're like, nothing to worry about, who cares? The point that I'm trying to make is that the response that we're seeing to this new illness in China, where people are telling you it's not a big deal, go about your normal life, we could have seen that same response a few years ago. And none of you would have known any differently. If there wasn't a name attached, if there wasn't this mainstream media push to just blow up that situation that we went through a few years ago, y'all would have never known the difference. Y'all would have been walking around here, maybe you had a little sniffle or something, you would have never have known that there was a new illness floating around. You wouldn't have known. The mainstream media chose to blow that up. And now they're choosing to downplay this one. And I just feel like that should be enough for people to see the reality of what we dealt with a few years ago. But I don't think anything is going to wake a certain portion of our society up. They have been psyoped after psyoped after psyoped, and it's too late for them. But it's not too late for us. That's why when I see something like this, when I see a concerning news story happening overseas, bet your ass I'm going to hop on it and to make sure all of you are aware of what's going on. Because if we don't keep responding in this way, if we don't keep our eyes open, if we don't keep our ears open, before we know it, we'll be right back on lockdown again. Let me know your thoughts about this, though, down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, because YouTube does not like these type of videos, you can help support the channel directly via CashApp. My CashApp will be in the pinned comment of this video, or you can send donations via Super Thanks. Or for free, you can help my channel by liking the video, sharing the video, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I will talk to you all soon in the next one.